Greetings guys, gals, non-binary pals, and welcome back to another video. I have made a couple of videos about what is known as radical unschooling in the past before, and I recently discovered that there are actually a couple of branches off of this radical unschooling, and I kind of fell down a little bit of a rabbit hole when I was looking into this. There are two separate things. There is the first one, which is world schooling, which is kind of exactly what it sounds like. It can look either like van life, which I've made a video about before, or it can look like a bit more extreme than that, of like getting your kids and up and leaving and then just traveling the world like all day, every day, 365 days a year. And there are little like hubs for it. So like you can go to like Germany and then like live and base yourself at this little like world schooling hub while you like travel Europe, and then you go to the one in like Bali. And it's so frustrating and so problematic in so many ways, and I really would like to dig a bit deeper into that. And then the other thing I stumbled upon was free schooling. And free schooling essentially is like radical unschooling, but from what I could gather, at least from the Facebook page that I went into, it is somehow even further than radical unschooling. Like it goes one step further, and I didn't think that you could do that. And so today, that's what I wanted to talk about. I found a Facebook page called Free Schooling, and I could not stop scrolling and bashing my head into a wall. So we're going to have a dive into that Facebook page today. And if you would like to see a video about world schooling, please leave a comment and let me know, and drop a like. If this video hits 10k likes, I will come back and make a video about world schooling, because there is a lot to go into and discuss. But yeah, today's video, we are going to be talking about free schooling, which essentially is child-led learning, but like without the learning. So it's just like, let's play some games, and that's school. And I'm not exaggerating. Like, you think I might be exaggerating? I am not exaggerating. They literally use directly the words that free schooling is like the summer holidays every single day. Their words. So that's what we're getting into. We're going through that Facebook page. And if you enjoyed this video, please do not forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. I'm trying to hit 500k subscribers by the end of the year, so I appreciate it greatly. Let's get into the video. Now, I kind of just told you a little bit what free schooling looks like, but they made a post about what it is to them. Unschooling is the freedom to live all year round like it's summer vacation, outdoor movies, D&D games, watching a beaver in a pond, hiking through forest trails, climbing a tree on a warm evening, sunny farm days, swimming at the beach, spending time with beloved family. The truth is, we don't need school. Education is all around us, in every moment, at every place. The world is our classroom. Life is our school. These things are all great things to do, and you absolutely can learn through doing these things. Absolutely. However, they can and should exist alongside an education, not in place of, but like together, because, you know, you actually can do both, and most people do actually do both. That's actually the way it's supposed to be, is that you learn through life and doing all of this, and also you have a more formal education. You learn in both ways. That's what is happening. This cannot exist in place of an education, especially if you are not actually teaching during these things, right? Like you say, we're going to the movies, we're going and watching beavers in a pond. Like, when you are going and watching a movie, are you teaching media literacy? Are you asking questions? Are you getting your child, and in this case, the person who runs this account, they have a 15-year-old daughter named Hope, right? Okay, so now that we know that, I can be more specific. Are you teaching your daughter media literacy? Are you asking her to dissect the movies? Are you asking her to find the moral? Are you asking her how it reflects society? Are you asking her how different visual shots portray different things? Are you asking the questions and getting her to make the connection between the story that she's being told and reality? Are you teaching her that and allowing her to develop that empathy and that understanding and deepen the understanding she has of the world and the media that she is consuming? Because if you aren't doing that, she's just watching a movie, she is not learning. She's not learning. You can't go out and watch a movie and claim that you are learning from life if you haven't taught her how to learn from a movie. And then when you go and watch like the beavers in the pond, are you teaching her about the ecosystem? Are you teaching her about the food chain? Are you having conversations about nature and photosynthesis and the way that like plants grow and like what they eat and how food is fuel and it turns into energy? Like, are you having conversations around the ecosystem and around biology, or is she just watching beavers get into a pond? Because sure, you are seeing and experiencing the world around you, but you do that while you're in school as well. You know, like she's missing out on so much knowledge because you aren't actually telling her like what is happening. And she's not going to just absorb and understand that without someone helping her understand that. Teaching those things is not only like helping to like educate you and give you more knowledge, but it also allows you to have a deeper connection with the world around you and understand that more. And it also allows you to develop deeper empathy as well and like have a better understanding of yourself, the world around you, with others. Like that knowledge is so important, and it really does like make life more enjoyable. It makes it more colorful and it makes it better. And you're not allowing her to connect to reality in that way. Maybe you think I'm jumping the gun here, right? Maybe you're sitting here and you're watching this and you're being like, she didn't say that she wasn't teaching. She just said that she was doing all this stuff. She didn't say that she wasn't using these as teaching moments. But unfortunately, she does. Like in this post, I guess you could take away the assumption that maybe she does ask questions and get her to write like reports or whatever. She doesn't, though. Unfortunately. She confirms that with a few posts, such as this one. Care to share what your unschool family is learning lately? Hope taught herself to swim. When she was about 9, she was strong and confident enough to go in deep water where she could not touch, and learned how to stay afloat by watching myself and her father. I am a strong swimmer. Learned on my own and took many levels of lessons, and have done private lifeguarding since my 20s. Hope knows exactly what the dangers are, how to avoid them, and what to do if things go wrong. So when we go to the beach, we know we're safe and can have tons of fun no matter what part of the water we are in. I know this isn't explicitly school related, but considering this is their school, it is school related. And it just makes me so sad because like, what do you mean? What do you mean that you are a strong swimmer? You are a private lifeguard and your daughter expresses obviously that she enjoys being in the water and she likes to, you know, exist in that space, and you don't teach her how to swim? You wait for her to teach herself? She is 9 years old and teaches herself to swim. And you're like, that's so incredible. See what you can do when you're on your own? You can do everything. The world is your classroom. You should let your kids figure stuff out on their own time when they want to. And that's supposed to help them? Like, it's cool that she figured out how to swim on her own. Sure, great, good for her. However, she is now so behind where she could have been. You know, like, what if she decides she really loves swimming? What if she wants to become a professional swimmer? What if that's what she wants to do with her life? You have significantly impacted her chances of doing that because you never taught her how to do it. You left her until she was 9 years old and finally figured it out on her own with no help, just so you could be like, wow, look, you learned stuff on your own. But now she can't make a career out of it if it's something that she loves, because she is so far behind. When I was 9 years old, I was swimming 1,600 meters 2 times a week and competing in swim meets. And she's just learning because you wouldn't teach her. I know that not everyone knows how to swim, right? I understand that. I think in general we should all know how to swim. But like, I think there's a difference between, you know, not putting your kid in swim lessons because you don't feel it's necessary because you don't live by water or you don't have the opportunity or whatever. Like, that's a separate thing to you go swimming regularly and don't teach your daughter how to do it because you're waiting for her to do it herself. You know, like, that is deliberately denying her of something that could make her happy and something that could be very useful, because you wanted her to figure it out on her own. Because why? Because newsflash, learning and teaching are just a part of life. We have always, throughout all of human history, taught each other things. And this isn't even just for people. Like, in the entire animal kingdom, we're all teaching each other. We're learning from each other. We're teaching each other. Like, it's not just watching and figuring it out. It's like actively showing people how to do things and teaching them. You have the capacity to actively help your child and to teach your child something, and you don't. Because why? Why are you not doing that? Because the only way it comes across is that you don't care enough. You don't want to put in the time or the effort. You don't want to make her life easier. You just want to live your life and watch her because you don't have the energy and you cannot be bothered. There is no good reason to not teach your child. There's no justifiable reason for that at all. And this is something that also applies not just in like swimming and things like this, but even applies to things such as reading and writing. Hope and many other unschooling, free schooling students are left to their own devices to learn how to do things when they are ready to do them. And that includes reading and writing. A lot of these parents say that they don't teach reading. They don't teach their kids how to read. They wait for their kids to figure it out because they want to do it. Not because they're being forced to read, but because they want to read. But you know how you learn how to read is that you get read to. That's how you learn to read. Your parents sit down with you and read books to you and like point to the words with their fingers. That's how you learn to read. So if your kids are not learning how to read, your kids don't show any interest in reading, it's because you aren't reading to your kids. And automatically, if you are not reading to your kids, you are a bad parent. You should be reading to your kids. Like, that is just something that you have to be doing as a parent, and I don't understand why you wouldn't be doing that. So while you are not reading to your kid, you're not spending this time with them and teaching them stories and like teaching them how to read and having that time, and they're 6 years old and still don't know how to read and haven't shown any, interest in it because it's not been a part of their life before, other 6-year-olds are out here reading the Rainbow Fairy Magic books. They're out here reading fun stories and like having chats together about their favorite book characters and like the next stories they're gonna read and like making games out of that. You're choosing which fairy you want to be when you play at lunchtime together. And these kids are over here denied of both the social, having a friend group to discuss things with, and also just denying them the ability to enjoy these stories. No, they're not going to show interest because you haven't done anything to inspire that interest. On this topic of reading, she reposted this. All reading counts. Graphic novels, audiobooks, magazines, read-alouds, movie captions, the back of the cereal box. And I'm sorry, no, it absolutely doesn't. This is so concerning. Your daughter is 15 years old. Reading the back of a cereal box does not count as reading. Are you kidding me? When you are any age over the age of like 6, just knowing what words look like is not reading. That doesn't count as reading. Reading is about comprehension. Reading is about the story. It's about understanding a story and connecting with a story in whatever way. It's about applying knowledge. It is about developing your understanding of things and connecting to something. Whether you enjoy it or you don't enjoy it, like, it is about understanding and connection and comprehension. That is what reading is. When you're like 4 years old, okay, sure, reading the back of a cereal box, that's great. You can recognize the shape of words. You know what words say. Congratulations, that's great. I'm proud of you. When you're older than that, though, does not count. Does not count even a little bit. If you are viewing reading as a, I read this many words and not as a, I understood this story, you're doing it wrong. Reading is not about the amount that you consume. It is about how you consume it. You could read 100 cereal boxes in one day, and it is not equal to the value of reading one book in a month. Not even close. A poem, one single poem in a month is more valuable than 1 million cereal boxes in a day. They're not the same thing unless you are like 4 years old. And it is concerning to me that as a mother of a 15-year-old, you are saying that they are. You are not helping your daughter. You are holding her back so much because you do not understand how anything works, and you are you are damaging her. This next one is a post that really, really pissed me off. And it says, June and July have been a flurry of activities like roller skating, chicken tending, meeting up with a bestie in the park, a family dinner out, a first, D&D games, parties by the fire, and recently, lots and lots of swimming at our local beach. Our 15th summer together, and Hope still seeks out hugs in public, can have deep emotional and intellectual conversations, and plays with abandon. I can't know what her life will need of her in the future, so there is no point in filling her days of skills she may not need. It is so beyond me that the response to I don't know what skills she might need in the future is to not teach any, as opposed to teaching all of them just in case, you know? Because that's what school is for. That is why school is so good in that way, right? Like, you go into school and you start with the basics. You learn the basic understanding for everything, like your basic numeracy and your basic literacy is kind of where it starts. And you do other ones like art and music, and you start going into a bit of like science and social studies. And as you get older, obviously it gets a little bit more complex with you, but you were developing a base understanding of a very general and wide spectrum of subjects, because kids don't know what they're going to want to go into. Kids gain and lose interest so fast. Saying about like a child that, you know, they can pick up and drop skills and like things they want to learn whenever they want is all well and good until you think about the fact that like kids are so fluid in what they want to do and what they are interested in. And like, yes, some things stick and some things are very strong, right? Like, I decided I wanted to do music when I was a grown up, when I was 3 years old. That is something that I've always wanted and I've never strayed from. Sometimes kids do know specific things and they have specific interests that will stick around forever. But sometimes things don't work out, for one thing. Like, I can't base my entire life on a decision when I was 3 years old to be like, she's interested in music, let's only learn music from here on out. That would be a terrible idea. That would be a terrible idea, both for like very limiting career prospects, and also like if I didn't learn the basics of every other skill, I would not be who I am. I would not have the ability to hold in-depth conversations. I would not have the ability to connect with the world in the way that I do, and I wouldn't have learned so many things that I enjoy. It is good to have a base knowledge of things. And this goes back to what I was trying to say before I got sidetracked, right? You start at school and you learn the base of everything, and as you get older, it gets more and more in-depth of things until you get to a point where they break off. And then you have more of a choice. As you are now a teenager and getting into the part where it's like, okay, I'm becoming an adult and I need to start thinking about what I want to do, you then get to make choices about what you are interested in and what you would like to pursue. So like, you know, science becomes like biology, physics, and chemistry, and you can choose which one or mixture of them that you want to do. Maths becomes like statistics and calculus, and you can choose which one you want to do. Like, all these things like branch off and get more and more specific and more in depth as you decide what you enjoy and what you want to pursue, right? Like, my last year of school, I studied English, advanced calculus, biology, French, music, and photography. What a variety. And like, you look at these subjects and it's like, I am a YouTuber. I make YouTube videos for a living. I make music, or I will again. And when you close your eyes, you replace the darkness with light. You replace the monsters and fairies, you replace the hate with love. Like, how is advanced calculus useful to me? What was the point in learning that? Why did I waste so much time learning advanced calculus when it is not something that is beneficial to my life at all? And the answer to that is just, I enjoyed it. I liked doing it. And I never would have known that it's something that I enjoyed doing unless I had gone through school, right? And learning basic maths and then getting more specific and learning different paths of it. Is advanced calculus important to most careers? No, not really. I don't think so. I can't think of very many where it is very important at all. But that doesn't always necessarily matter. Like, this whole thing with unschooling is, it's like, you get to give them the opportunity to choose anything they want to study, and then they get to enjoy what they learn. You aren't giving them the opportunity to do that though. Because I don't think that Hope has ever been given the opportunity to get to a point of even knowing what advanced calculus is, let alone being able to choose to study it. How is she going to know if it's something that she enjoys or is interested in if she was never even told that it existed? And then you look at things like biology, right? Like, I'm not a biologist, I'm not a scientist, I don't do shit to do with that. I make YouTube videos and I make music. Like, what's biology got to fucking do with anything? Not much, really, right? Like... But again, it's something that I enjoyed. And not only that, is like biology in itself is a subject that like allows you to connect more with life. It allows you to understand the world around you a bit more. Like I understand how things work better. I feel like I understand the world and myself and like the way things exist in a better way. And it means that I'm able to have conversations about that. I'm able to apply the knowledge that I learned to other things that people say, even if it's separate. I'm able to use that basic knowledge and like think critically about it to understand more things. And also it does kind of come up, right? Like I'm not a biologist, I don't talk about biology, but there is some basic information that I learned in biology that is necessary for some of the conversations that I have. And I'm able to understand what is being said because I learned the basics there. And if it's something that I wanted to pursue further, I have the foundation to then go ahead and pursue that further. Like, you aren't giving your child the ability to do this. She doesn't have the basic foundation of such a broad range of different subjects. There's no basic core foundation that she spent years building up. So if there is something that she chooses now that she's like 16, she's gonna have to start from scratch. Because maybe when she was like 7 years old, she expressed an interest in like fish, and you were like, okay, let's go look at some fish. Let's learn a little bit about the ocean. And like you do the bare minimum sort of marine biology shit when she was like 7, which is very, very little when you were 7 years old. Maybe she decided she didn't like it anymore. Now she's 16 and she decides, actually, that is something that I want to do. I really want to go into marine biology because the ocean really interests me. She has nothing there to support that. She has to now go into this at 16 with absolutely no background knowledge, no foundational knowledge. She has to start at 0 when other people her age are about to enter like university. And I'm not saying that you can't learn a skill from scratch. It's never too late to learn. I understand that a lot of people don't have the opportunity to learn the things that they would like to learn. I get that, and that is no fault of their own, and it is unfair that people are put in those situations. However, in this situation, this is a choice that is being made. This is actively being made. I don't agree with homeschooling in general. I'm not a fan of it. I don't think, there are many parents who are capable and educated enough of teaching their children what needs to be taught, but this takes it to a whole new level of like, not giving any foundation to anything it's just denying so many opportunities. It is denying so many paths of interests that she could have walked down. It is denying the foundation of so many fields that she could go into and now does not have the ability to make that choice because kids are sponges. When you're young, you learn so much, so easily, so quickly. As you get older, it becomes harder to learn. And so now she has to start at 0 because you just didn't feel like it. And you're saying that it's to help her, but it's doing nothing but harm, right? Like that, all it's doing is holding her back. You could have given her a foundation to so many things, but you have instead denied it because you don't know if it's going to be important, so you don't want to waste her time doing it. You are denying her of the dreams that you are saying you are teaching her this way and raising her this way so she can do anything she wants to, while you are not giving her the appropriate resources and education that is required to make those decisions for herself. You are saying that you are free schooling her. It's giving her freedom, but it's not. It is doing the opposite of freedom. It is restricting her so much. Again, I understand that it may seem, even from these posts, that maybe I'm being a bit extreme. Right? Maybe there's other stuff that she's not talking about. Maybe they do some classroom stuff. Maybe she does have a special interest that she focuses on. Maybe there is like one subject that she's chosen and like, maybe she does like marine biology and that is something she's focused on. It's just not something that they've talked about. But they actually keep a daily journal. They keep a daily learning journal. They write down everything that they do every single day. And they posted an example from a week. And we're gonna read a couple of pages, all right, about these days. January 10th, 2025. Role play. Bagel breakfast. Fave new anime show. Library, 2.5 hours. Coloring, drawing, manga tiles. Map to errands. Grocery shop for dinner. Nacho dinner. January 11th. Minecraft with dad. YouTube. Roleplay. TikTok. Listening to music. Conflict resolution. Being touched, hitting. January 12th. Snacks and movies with family. New show. January 13th. D&D, 4 to 7 p.m. with friends. Roleplay with friends. January 14th. My birthday. Cleaned room. Rearranged for coming new bunny. Brushed hair. Roleplay with dad. Watched Hope's new show, She Loves BNA. That is a week of this kid's education. That is what her entire year looks like. And there is nothing here. Writing in your journal that is being kept for what you learn, like the education that your child is getting, and having Minecraft with dad, scrolling TikTok, listening to music, cleaning your room, brushing your hair. Like, you're writing all of this down as though this is an education, when these are things that can and do exist alongside an actual education. Like, it's acting as though, like, going grocery shopping is, like, this phenomenal thing that no other kids have the privilege of doing. Newsflash, kids who are in school are also playing Minecraft. They're also playing D&D. They're also going grocery shopping and getting bunnies and making dinner and going out with friends. Like, these are things that we're all doing. They are important, but they happen along with school. I don't know why you're acting as though these things cannot coexist. Hope is not special for doing these things. This is all just so lazy, right? It truly just feels like not giving a fuck about anything, like not wanting to teach her daughter, not having any care at all about it, and just being like, go out and do whatever the fuck you want. I don't care about you. I don't want to help you. I want you to just do whatever you want so I don't have to deal with you. Which is hilarious because, like, that's what you could send her to school for, you know? If you don't care enough to spend time with her and, like, teach her things and help her better understand the world and, like, get through life easier, then, like, surely you'd want to send her to school instead, right? But unfortunately, you know, I think obviously in this situation, it's much more about keeping her trapped, keeping her isolated, not giving her any opportunity to get out of here, right? Because she's not being given the skills to be able to do anything else, to go anywhere else. She hasn't been given the basic foundation to even start really anywhere or like know what she wants to go into. However, she does get given work on her parents' farm. They pay her to do role-playing and tours around their farm, which we'll get into in a minute. And that's the only sort of job experience that she has. The only education that she gets is playing Dungeons and Dragons and Minecraft and doing roleplay. Those are the skills that she has. And she doesn't have any friends. They don't socialize her. She just has her parents and nothing else, which is so damaging and like forcing such heavy reliance to have her entire world just be this farm and her parents and nothing else. Now, we've gotten to this point now where obviously I'm talking a bit about isolation and like reliance and all of that. And I think that getting to this point means that I have to go a bit deeper and give you some backstory. I need to tell you a little bit about how we ended up in this situation and how I know that this woman got here with her child, because she's been through a lot. She has had one of the most devastating and traumatizing experiences that a person can possibly have. And it took place over 2 decades. And I feel so much sympathy for her. Like, I cannot imagine how horrible and traumatizing this must have been for her. I'm not going to go into it too deeply because I don't think it's my place to like tell that story in its entirety. It is public knowledge. She's posted about it. But I don't feel like it's my place to like divulge literally all of it, right? So I'm going to give you a bit of a summary of what her sort of backstory is. And I'm going to put a trigger warning here for violence, self-harm, and suicide. So if that is something that is going to be triggering for you, please skip to this timestamp. So her backstory is that when she was 17, she had a son. The man she had this son with was abusive, and so she left him. But in leaving him, his parents were upset because they wanted to see their grandbabies. So they sued her for shared custody of her kid. And they won. So they got to see him on weekends. Eventually, they grew bored of him. They didn't want him anymore. They separated and they were like, we don't care about him anymore. Gave him back to his mother. Obviously, this has some negative effects on you, like for like abandonment issues, because he was 5 or 6 at the time of this. And then a couple years go by, everything is fine. And then child services get involved and take him away. She didn't say why this happened. She said that there was no reason. They just came in and took him for no reason at all. And they said that it was what was best for him and that, you know, she should just let it happen. And so she was like, okay, well, I want what's best for him. So, okay, fine. They put him in like a home for like troubled youth or something along those lines. And they started giving him a lot of medication that wasn't FDA approved. And he was starting to like self-harm and being violent, and he attempted suicide a couple of times. She was not informed of this for a very long time. Then when he was 17, he was released back into her care, and she was very happy to have him back with her after pretty much his entire life not being with her. And he then one night attempted to kill her. He got a kitchen knife, he came at her and he stabbed her 3 times and it punctured her lung, and she thought she was gonna be dead before the ambulance got there. Her son immediately like seemed very remorseful. She didn't blame him for this. She knows that he'd been through a lot, and she didn't think that it was his fault. It wasn't him. It was like a different part of him and something came over him. So she didn't hate him. She didn't blame him. She was just like accepting that this was her fate. She did live, obviously. Her son got arrested and sentenced to 3 years in prison. But for that first year, they were not allowed any communication. And she was devastated by that. She really wanted to talk to her son, and she was very upset that she wasn't able to. Then at the end of that first year, when they were able to talk to each other again, he texted her a photo of him self-harming and said that it was all her fault and that he hates her. And then the next day, he overdosed. I obviously feel such immense sympathy for her in this situation. Like, I cannot imagine very many things that would be more horrible to experience than this. Like, I cannot imagine how difficult and painful this experience must have been. She didn't blame her son for any of this that happened, right? She didn't blame him for any of it. She still loves him. She forgives him. She doesn't think there's anything to forgive him for in the first place. What she blames for the entire situation is the state. Right? She blames the government. She blames the people who came and took him away. She blames what they did to him. And she blames the fact that he didn't have a mother raising him. She blames the fact that, you know, the state raised him and she didn't. And like, I understand how you sort of come to that conclusion, right? I understand being upset in that way, and I do agree that, you know, in this situation it seems that they did a lot wrong by him, absolutely. And so I do understand how we ended up in the place that we did, right? I understand how she got to where she got to. I do understand entirely how she, you know, has this baby. She has a daughter, and like the first thing she wanted to do was like dig her claws in deep and never ever let go, right? I get how we got here. I understand that she didn't want to let her daughter out of her sight. She didn't want anyone other than her having any input in her raising her. She didn't want anyone outside of her and her husband to have any hand in raising her or doing anything. I get it. I understand how we got here. And at the same time, I don't think that's the right thing to do. I know that that's not the right thing to do. Right? Like, we talk about it a lot here, that like trauma is a reason, but it's not an excuse, right? You cannot make your trauma the burden of your child. Like, you cannot put that weight on them to carry, you know? And I understand how we get to the point where that happens. And I understand that this is a situation that we end up, and this is what ends up happening. But what really needs to happen is intensive therapy, right? You need to have intensive therapy, because currently the way that she is raising her daughter and the way that she has taught her daughter and like brought up her daughter is very like, it's very selfish, right? And I know, again, it comes from a place of trauma. It's very much like, this is what I need to feel secure. This is what I need to feel safe. It isn't taking into consideration what might be best for Hope. It is not taking into consideration what might be best for this child. It is instead doing what feels good to you because you are afraid of letting go. And I get that, but that's why we need therapy. That's why we need someone to come in and like be a buffer, a mediator, and have like actual work like in helping this situation and helping you through your trauma. But again, I know that that's not something that she wants, because she doesn't want anyone involved in the upbringing of her child. She doesn't want anyone else's opinion, anyone else's input, because she blames that on what happened with her son. But all that is going to happen in this situation here, and raising your child like this with your claws dug so deep in them and isolating them, is that they grow to resent you. Either they live a very small, narrow life where they are missing out on so much of the world, or the second they move away from you, they never speak to you again because they realize just how trapped they've been. You know, you raise your daughter in this idea where you're calling it free schooling because the world is your school and everything is free and you can do what you want, but she can't. She does not have the opportunities or the access to do most things. It's like she's been so limited to only exist in this one place and do these very specific things. Again, like, I sympathize, but you know, you've raised a child who cannot exist without you. You've raised a child who is so dependent on you and doesn't have any skills required to, you know, be independent because you're afraid, right? And that's not fair. That's not fair. And it's kind of ironic in a way, right? Because as I said, Hope does do work. She does work on this farm with the only skill she has, which is role playing. The ironic part of that is that this is not like a normal farm. This is not like a meat farm or a dairy farm or anything. It is a therapy farm. It is a farm where people come and sit with animals and, you know, seek to heal. They claim that they help people with like PTSD and trauma and any other psychological issues, that they can come to this farm and just like exist and be with nature and like, but talk it out and just heal. And it's just so ironic when it comes from someone who is doing irreparable psychological damage to her child. When it's coming from someone I know has not sought therapy, like, neither her nor her husband are licensed therapists. Their farm isn't even registered, by the way. Like, no one here is licensed to be hosting a therapy anything. And if you are someone who needs intensive therapy but will not get it and are making your trauma someone else's problem, you really, really should not be hosting therapy sessions. That just shouldn't be something that you're doing. She's been asked about socialization before, right? Obviously, a lot of these like unschoolers do get asked about socialization and like, do they have friends? Do they go out? Do they talk? Like, what are their social skills like? Because obviously a very large part of school is the social aspect. School exists obviously for that base knowledge and like figuring out what you want to do and where you want to go. But also a very large part of it is learning how to socialize. It's learning how to work with people you wouldn't normally work with. It's learning how to interact and like be around people who are like different to you. Like, that is a very, very important part of school. And so a lot of people obviously who do homeschooling, or specifically, especially unschooling, they don't have that same community. Like, there are homeschool groups. And I think that some people utilize that much better than other people do. And in this situation, they don't seem to utilize it that much at all, because when asked about Hope and her friends and her socialization and if she has any friends and what she does, they say this. But what about socialization? Movie night with Hope's fairy godparents. Hope does not have contact with almost all of our extended family, much to our disappointment. So we are very grateful for our besties agreeing to be her guardians should anything happen to Jays or myself. They've taken this role very seriously, being continuously involved in her life and even moved hours north to where we live to be closer. Last night, we all had dinner together and then went off to see Deadpool and Wolverine in D-box seats, which totally rocked. Unschoolers, no social skills are learned and practiced with living life. No worries needed. This actually did not answer the question this actually made it worse, because when asked about how your daughter is socialized, you mention her godparents. You mention people your age. What about friends? What about people her own age? What about playing games with people? Because she plays D&D with her dad and her dad's D&D group. She does like roleplay stuff with people who pay money to come to the farm. They mention one friend that she has that she FaceTimes like once every couple of weeks, who lives on the other side of the country. That's not socializing. That's not learning social skills. Like, yes, okay, you can learn how to have short like conversations with someone you first meet. That's not learning how to develop a connection with someone. That's not learning how to make and like maintain a friendship. There's no consistency. There's no, you know, like communication and intent, and like there's no relationship, right? That is so important for a child to have. The only people she has relationships with are adults. That's isolating her even further. Like, you are causing so much damage to this child, all under the ruse of I am helping her make her own decisions. I am helping her realize that she can do anything that she wants. She can choose to do anything that she wants anytime she wants, except for leave, except for have relationships outside of myself and my selected family members. She can do anything she wants except learn things. She can do anything she wants except ask me for help, right? Like, they prioritize emotional conversations and like communicating emotions and how you're feeling and having conversations around that. And I think that's really cool, right? I think that's important. I think that we need to learn vulnerability. We need to be taught vulnerability. But if that is the only thing that you're teaching your child, it's not enough. It's not enough. Like, yes, being able to do that is important, but like, so is everything else. This whole thing is just so weird and like so suspicious too. Like, the fact that the farm isn't registered and like you go onto their website and stuff and there's like no photos or anything. There's like one photo. The only way to get in contact with them is through like Facebook Messenger. There's like no reviews. There's like nothing. There's nothing. And that's kind of concerning in its own way, right? And then like in general, obviously with everything else and the way that they talk about it and what they say they do, like I am so worried for this child. Like, she has been deprived of so much and she continues to be deprived of so much, and she doesn't even know it because she's never had the opportunity to know that. She's never, you know, experienced anything outside of this before, and she doesn't even really interact with people who have experienced anything like outside of this before. She has the voice of her parents and very, very little else. Like, she's not even being taught media literacy, so she can't even learn that, like what isn't okay from like movies and TV shows so much, because she's not been given the tools to be able to do that. And like, yes, kids are smart and I'm sure you can like figure it out, but like being denied help to do something really just impacts your level of ability to do it and like the amount of time it takes you to be able to learn that. Her entire world is boiled down to just things that she has decided she wants to figure out for herself and nothing more. She chooses what she does and doesn't learn. And by learn, obviously, I don't mean being taught. I mean like watching a beaver in a pond and deciding how she wants to interpret that. Like, she has no help. She's on her own. She is surrounded by no one but her family, and even then, she is entirely on her own. And she has been on her own her entire life, and it's so concerning. And I'm so upset for her, you know? And like, her mom uses quotes from her on Facebook being like, saying that she's happy, and Hope is like, so many kids miss out on this, like it's so nice to make all my own decisions. But it's like, she's saying that because it's the only thing she's ever known, and it's what her mother has been telling her. It's like, you're so lucky to do this. You're so lucky this is what your life is like. Look how great your life is. You have so much. Like, obviously she's gonna say that. She has no other opinions. She's no one else has taught her anything. You've not even fucking taught her anything. And it just makes me so sad and so mad. Like, free schooling, unschooling, whatever you want to call it, it sounds great in theory, right? Like, being able to choose what you learn, having fun, like catering your learning to the specific child, because, you know, school doesn't work for everyone, right? School can be too rigid for a lot of people. And I think that the education system in general does need a lot of rejigging. Like, it needs a bit of reevaluating over the curriculum and like how everything works. I think that, you know, all children learn in a slightly different way. And so I understand when people, you know, try to teach their kids in a slightly different way. However, this isn't the answer. Learning through life is important, yes, but so is like intentional teaching. Like, intentional teaching and intentional learning is important alongside like accidental learning. No matter who your child is, no matter how they learn, no matter any of that, intentional learning and teaching is necessary to life, right? Even going all the way back to the caveman days, all of human history, you teach your children. That's just something that we do, and something that has always been done and will always be. By not teaching your child things, you are teaching them like to lack empathy effectively, because you're saying that you shouldn't help people if they need help. You should let people struggle. Don't ever help people. Don't ever ask for help. Like, that's a bad lesson to be teaching, right? And it must feel so isolating to be treated that way. Your job as a parent is to raise an adult who is able to be independent and who is able to make decisions for themselves. You are supposed to raise an adult who like knows how to face life and can overcome struggles and like make decisions for themselves. And like have the basic foundations to be able to go out and thrive in the world, you know, unless your child is someone who needs like a carer, obviously, in which case, you know, they may not be able to go out by themselves and face the world by themselves in so many words, but you still have a responsibility to teach them and help them get to whatever place that they are physically or mentally able to get to, right? You have the responsibility to help your child thrive as much as they can, and by not teaching them and by just keeping hands off and like keeping them isolated, you are not doing that. You are providing her with one option, and that is to work on your farm forever. And you're not even teaching her the business skills. So like when you die, what the fuck happens? Obviously, a lot of what I said is not targeted entirely towards this one family. Because a lot of unschooling in general is a lot like this. However, obviously a lot of this also was very specifically targeted because it got into some really big specifics. But I just wanted to talk about it. I thought that it was important because this unschooling thing is like seemingly becoming more and more common. And I think that we really need to talk about the dangers of that and like the whys and the consequences. And I just think that like it needs to be talked about. It makes me mad. It makes me sad. And yeah. I stumbled upon this Facebook page by accident and then I had to share it with you. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Please give your kids an education. Thank you. A huge thank you to my Kiwi Cat patrons. Polar Bee, Sienna, Alicia, Marielle, Bree, Bay the Trucker, Chastity, Beckett, Prismatic Petey, Sushi Kawaii, Phil the Duck, Jessie, River, Queen Glimmer, Ella, Mr. Noodle, Radsack, Knitting Menace, Chris, Ellie, Alexis, and Bobby. I love and appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for joining. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe. Keep fighting. I love you. Mwah. When you close your eyes.